As I speak, people like you and me are disrupting the tech giants like Amazon, Uber, Monday.com, which you've seen thousands of ads about on YouTube, and other big companies. And in this video, I want to show you exactly how you can take advantage of this massive opportunity or the AI gold rush that we're in right now and build your SaaS or app or application in a single day. And I'm going to take you through the exact process that I went through yesterday to get it done, which is an app which I'm going to show you in a bit. That being said, let's get into the video and explain to you exactly how you can do it and take advantage of this big rush. So let's build a SaaS every single day using AI. This could be used for internal and external use cases. These are a bunch of tools we have used, and I'm going to show you an example. You see all these tabs open at the top. I'm going to show you examples of each. So what we're going to cover here is point number one is my complete framework to build a SaaS every single day. And this is based on client work I've done very recently, and I've been asked to do this. And point number two we're going to cover is real life build, mistake, and pivot. So we're going to start with an idea over here, general idea. We're going to say, okay, let's go and compete with X company. And you're going to see how we pivot, what mistakes we make, and so on, just so you feel how it feels like to do this in real life. And point number three is I'm going to talk about what nobody tells you about AI. Very, very important because nobody's talking about these things, about these tools, and you get to notice them once you start using everything. So why should you listen to me? So in the past couple of years, I've built one SaaS company for investors. You can see this over here. Let me see if this video works. Yes, essentially it was for investors. There were different tabs at the left over here, and you can see everything. And the problem with this was I had so many devs that I hired. I was paying them consistently, and you can see the headaches that came with it, where people would tell me that, or these devs would tell me, okay, this is not working and this would take time for me. Let's do this. I definitely can't, no way I can send them by tomorrow. And I built a full SaaS, just so you know, in 3 to 4 hours. I'm going to show you exactly how I did that. And this took months to build out and get right with the front end, back end, and so on. And if you're intimidated at for any reason right now, don't be, because this is really, really simple. You don't need to know how to code, how to program, or do anything to get this done. This is point number one. Point number two, I built a SaaS for AI detection where we were downloading from satellites images and seeing deformation in lands using AI. And this was in 2019. And you can see we've got funding for this. We won an award, and this was the app itself. And then I've helped more than 50 plus SMBs, small, medium businesses, and a lot of startups in the UAE in 2023. And I've been part of the space program, sent satellites to space, and we've been doing AI with all of that. So this is my past experience of what I want to show you today. And this works for coaches, consultants, agencies, service providers, mentors, whether you have a laundry business, real estate agents, construction workers, this works for you as well. So now let's begin with this video and what I want to show you exactly and the meat of this video. So what we're going to do here is we're going to compete with Noon for educational purposes, of course. Noon is an e-commerce platform. And the inspiration of this came, and why did I decide Noon and going against this platform? Because one, it's a marketplace, a digital marketplace here in the UAE. Everyone, or let's say most people, use it, and they've been expanding really well to other regions. And the inspiration came as well by a talk by the CTO of Amazon in Dubai AI Festival, which was a couple of weeks back. So I was attending this talk. These are some images, and he was mentioning, and the main message here was Amazon has been doing AI for a really, really long time. And you can see it over here from 2007 to 2015, 2009, 2020, 2025, and what they have done essentially. And people thought they were a company where they're selling books, but essentially everything they did was AI. So this inspired me, okay, let's compete with Noon since AI is coming. And people are saying that SaaS is kind of being disrupted at the moment. The cost of developing software is going to zero, and all of those talks. Let's make something and compete with them at 1/10 of the price, let's say. And why Noon in particular is because I uploaded a video a couple of weeks back, a couple of weeks back, and it was a service provider kind of thing for consultants and coaches. Now let's do something more for physical products and so on. So we talked about that. And extreme value pockets in the market demand. So why does this make sense? So everything we do on this channel is basically looking at emerging tech, and at this moment is AI, and how can we use it for our business, because we are business and men, or we're business and entrepreneurs, we're business oriented first, and we want to see how this applies in terms of market demand and supply and so on. So we look at it at two levels here. The first level is individuals. Where's the extreme value pockets for individuals? One is a coach coaching coaches value ladder. So we all heard of those people that coach, the business coaches who are coach other business coaches to coach other people. So the point here is that the higher you are on that value ladder, the more money you're going to make. This is the truth. Like, nobody talks about this, but the business coaches who coach other business coaches are making more money than the business coaches who have other business owners as clients. It's just, it works that way. And there's this big rise, as you can see, of MVP agencies where you can build your MVPs really fast. And two, at the individual level, you can make your client's life much, much easier by reducing the churn, let's say, or increasing the LTV of the clients. We're going to talk more about that in a bit. And if you're doing it for clients, a really fancy and nice way to get leads at the moment is to build something similar to what I'm going to show you today in this video and make that as a lead magnet where you can come on my website, try it for free. It's this small app that I built, and we're no longer giving you a PDF, ebook, download my free worksheet or template and so on, so you get people email, but you're getting it through something really tangible and valuable as well. But at a national level, this is where it gets really interesting. And I'm going to talk about my country, the UAE, and how this fits in everything. So we have something called the D33, and it has economic targets of 32 trillion by 2033, and that's where the name comes. And His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid mentioned that there is a couple of initiatives and goals that we need to achieve in order to hit the targets that we have in 2033. And what's most interesting in these is this over here and this over here, because this applies to the application in this video over here, which is launching a scale up program for 30 plus companies to become global unicorns in the new economic sector. That means the UAE wants to get in house unicorns coming out from this region. That's point number one. And that means in house unicorns. Let's think Silicon Valley. Let's think about all of those things. That means SaaS, software, maybe, and other kind of companies and businesses which are profitable and make money and so on. And they usually start with what? MVPs. So that's point number one. Point number two is this over here, developing a small and medium enterprise scale-up program by identifying 400 high potential companies, supporting their capacities. Essentially, they're supporting small and medium enterprises here in the UAE. So that's a big initiative they have. Money has been spent and invested to get this done. And also, you can see integrating 65,000 young Emiratis into the job market, meaning that they need to be tech savvy, understand how the business works and so on, and integrate it within the job market. So many initiatives in this sense. And then very, very recently, just a couple of days back, His Highness mentioned this. He said that the UAE government today approved the final curriculum to introduce artificial intelligence as a subject across all stages of governmental education in the UAE, from kindergarten to grade 12, starting from the next academic year. What this means is that the 3-year-old and 2 years old and 3 years old, they're going to be exposed to AI at a very, very early young age. And this to me just means that if that person has to be exposed to AI at a very young age, that means what vision they have and what they see for the future is very vast that we can't also still comprehend at the nation level. And this is very critical and important because this did not happen for the space program that I was part of and so on, but it's happening for AI. This means it's very, very critical, and it's gonna literally disrupt every single industry. This is a very key point to pay attention to. And then if we look at the youth, there are many initiatives and entities I've been talking to as well that are focusing on the ages 18 to 35. There's something called the App Olympics. And this is where people come and build their apps, and then they push and they do this demo, they do the feasibility analysis, they build this MVP, and then they present it. So imagine if they knew what I'm going to show you with this AI tool, and these tools existed during that time, let's say 5 years past. So just a note over here. What I showed you in terms of these SaaS companies over here, this was 2019. Today is 2025. That's around 6 years ago. And if these tools existed 6 years ago, not say 6 years ago, even let's say 2 years ago, this would have been very, very like more effective, more efficient, and the success of these or the probability that these startups or MVPs would have succeeded at a bigger scale would have been much higher. So this is the point I'm trying to make for the youth as well, where the youth are coming in and they have these skills and they're trained on these skills as well, and pushing forward, they can bring every idea they have to life. This is the point I'm trying to make of this point. So now the question becomes, Adham, how does this make me money? How does this not stay a hobby? Because we see on YouTube today, many individuals are showing demos on n8n, or they're showing agents, or they're showing this. I built this AI agent that reads from a document and I can speak to documents. Or I built this AI agent that can identify which type of dog this is by pictures or whatever it is. So those are kind of hobbies, unless you turn it into a business and makes you money. So in this video, I want to show you how can you turn everything to make you money. And this is a very important point of how or where does AI fit to begin with. AI fits at the final stage of everything you have built out. The first stage is the knowledge. You should have a knowledge around some particular topic. For example, for me, it's business. I know how to do business. That's my knowledge. And I've done business for more than 10 years. That's when I've developed IP, intellectual property, and have data and insights based on the clients I've worked with. This works in this market, this works in this niche, this type of offer works here, and so on. Then I start thinking, okay, let me build a software around this because I've been doing this routine task over and over again. And I've reached a point that I don't want to do it anymore. And I want something just to automate or get the job done faster for my clients. That's where software comes in. So you don't start from day one with software. This is where software comes in. And then AI comes in after software. Essentially, software, if you want to think about this, software is a dumb piece of thing or abstract that gets things done. It can't decide, it can't think for itself, it can't do anything. But AI gives it that human intelligence, kind of, to think even better. Where essentially you're getting human intelligence, adding it to a dumb thing, making it more intelligent. Intelligent systems, let's say. So this is essentially where the money maker is, and this is where I want to talk to you about how can we make money in terms of going from IP that you have, data and insights you have, and turning that to a SaaS software that is AI powered over here. Because to be honest with you, nobody cares if it's AI powered or not, unless you can get me the outcome that I want based on the business you have, and that's how why I'm gonna get value from you and pay you money. And this is how you make clients' life easier, meaning that higher LTV lifetime value, lower CAC, customer acquisition costs, and think of retention, referrals, advocacy when this gets done, meaning that you make a business profitable on a long term cycle and you higher the probability of this business making money without you. Or let's say if you build it around your brand, you can take yourself out of that, out of the equation, and make it sellable in the future, and you can have this kind of exit strategy if you want. So this is essentially how you're going to make money if we implement all of this together. Now let's get to the framework. So this framework works if you want to build something for your own business, for your employees, or for you to use in your business, or you want to build it for clients to use as well. Or you want to build it for clients to use for their clients. So the higher you are in the value chain, the more money you make. Just keep that in mind. And very, very important points. We're going to touch on many softwares over here, but I want you to keep in mind that these softwares or platforms change over time. If you're watching this video in the future, they may not make sense. I'm sure a lot of developments would have been made by that time. And what I want to get out of this is the work or the mindset or the structure we follow through, because that can be applied to any new software that comes in the future. And the reason I've been able to do this really fast is because I come from a space background. When we were launching satellites, I was developing software for satellites. I use the same mindset I used over there in this AI, whatever's happening in terms of the tool and so on. So the steps are: one is to get an idea, two is to know your competition. Very simple steps. Three, you roast the idea. Four, if the idea passed the roast, you plan how you're going to build this out. And five, you prepare this plan or development plan and chunk it up into different pieces from skeletons to form the skeleton. And then you build your landing page, very important point. Then you finalize this MVP. And then you build the backend of the front end MVP, which is what's facing the user. And then you make it launch ready, looking at the security issues, having the checklist, and so on. And I'm going to go through each step and show you exactly what I've built out with these steps in a very short period of time compared to what it takes in the past. And, you're going to see the advantage of this. And just so you know, there are agencies right now that are appearing, of seeing, they're charging anywhere between $3,000 to $8,000 for 4 weeks of work to get a job done that takes only 3 to 6 hours. And this is it. They're following this framework over here. And you don't need to learn coding. This is very important. You don't need to learn coding, but you need to have the mindset and understand how machines work at a high level, because this is the advantage I had when I was building this. And I realized this. I thought to myself, will I be able to do this really fast in this period of time if I did not know how, let's say, databases worked, or how servers worked, or how do you host something, what is dependencies, what is a library, and so on. So if I didn't know this terminology and didn't know how everything worked together at a very high level, even though I didn't need to know the details of it, I wouldn't have gotten this done really quickly. And let's say I wouldn't have the best practices added into it. So this is a very important point. I think one of the things that nobody talks about. So now let's get into the details of how to build it. Step one, step two, and I'm going to show you everything around the screen over here. So just a point and something to keep in mind, and a sign that we are super early, is that, and the fact that I needed to use all these tools, which I'm going to show you in a bit, just to get this job done. And this is the fragmentation challenge over here, which I mentioned. Everything is fragmented. But now, with this vibe code movement that everyone is pushing, they're saying that, okay, can we build systems, or can we build something that gets all these steps done, frameworks done, let's say, in one click? So I click a button, everything gets done. That's a direction we're moving towards. But today, everything is fragmented. And there has to be some kind of intelligence and human intervening to get the job done. So this is exactly what I wanted to point out, because this is also something nobody's talking about. They're saying, I built this AI tool that generates images from of cats, and they transform it into stickers. Those are like clickbait YouTube titles that you see nowadays. But the reality is there has to be human intervention at this point because of this fragmentation challenge. So the total time this took me was around 3 to 5 hours. There's roughly between that, because I was on and off. And the tools cost, and by the way, just for the cost over here, these are the tools I use. You can use any tool you want. I told you, be platform agnostic in this case. But Manus costs $39, $25 for Lovable. You can use Lovable or Bolt. $20 for ChatGPT, $7 for Ideogram, $15 for Windsurf, $20 for Cursor, $100 to $150 estimate. But you can see the credits I used over here is as well. It's around $25 per SaaS, because I did not use all the credits to build these things out. It was like 10 prompts from 100 prompts that I got for $25. Or this many tokens for $39 per month Manus, which I think is 4,000 tokens. So that's maybe $10. So I didn't use all the credits. That's a very important point over here. Now let's begin with the process and the framework and put it into live action to show you this app over here that we built out. And I'm going to show you in a bit. And it's very interesting, by the way. I was really amazed by the results. I'm gonna be honest with you. And I even asked around once I got this idea. I even asked around, what do you think about this task, this app, this SaaS that I just built? Do you really need it in your business? Is it in demand? Do you think people would buy this? People would invest in it? And they told me that, and I was not aware about a particular topic, which I'm going to show you. They told me that this is really popping up in the UAE right now. Like, the demand is extremely high and it's going up, and it's foreseen or forecasted to increase even more. So this is just a point I'm trying to make, because this was validated as well. I validated from my business experience. So step number one is get idea. To get an idea, you have three ways to do that. You either listen to your clients, what problems they have, what repetitive tasks they keep on complaining about, what things are they telling you, I don't have time for this, creating content takes too much time, for example, and so on. You can look online, look at YouTube videos, look at below this video, you can see some comments, look at below other videos, you can see a bunch of comments, look at forums, look at Reddit, look at keyword research on Google's keyword planner, look at all these tools, and you're going to see a certain pattern where what people are searching for, what are they keep on asking, what are they complaining about, and you're going to get an idea to build out. So this is a SaaS a day. So don't overthink this part. This part should take you maximum 5 minutes, because you're going to do another SaaS tomorrow, or another SaaS even the day after. Or if you're going to do a SaaS a weekend, you're going to do a SaaS this weekend and another SaaS next weekend. So it's not like your end one time, you're committed to this and no longer you're going to change. So keep this a simple process. And then the third point is you're from your pocket. From your pocket, from an Arabic word, is not the best option, but it means from your pocket, essentially, من جيبك. It means that you just think about an idea and just choose it and go with it. And in this case, from my pocket idea was that I wanted to compete with Noon because I was inspired by that for educational purposes, of course. So the rough idea over here, let's build a digital marketplace or e-commerce platform like Noon for the UAE market. Let's compete with these people and let's build a digital marketplace. Okay. And I further thought about this. Okay, I have two options here. Option number one is either I build a SaaS that builds business owners' e-commerce stores, something like Shopify, or build a SaaS that's a marketplace for business owners. So essentially, either you come on my platform and sell on my platform, or you put your item on my platform and I sell it for you on my platform, and I take commission off of that, or I give you a subscription. So different kind of models. Just I was playing around with these options. And if you're looking for ideas online, as I mentioned, you can scrape YouTube videos and whatever it is. The point is, and this is a very important point that I mentioned at the end, don't just build things because you want to build something. Build things you're passionate about. For example, if you don't care about cats, don't build a SaaS that helps, or let's say prints cat stickers, because you have no clue about cats and you don't care about cats. So think about something that you care about and build on that thing. It's going to be a much nicer journey for you as well. So essentially, this was the idea part. And then I ended up with this idea. I said, okay, fine, let's just pick this idea and begin. So now the next stage is, okay, I have this idea. Let me do some research. Who has made this idea? What has this idea? Who's my competitors, for example? How feasible is this? Is there demand in the UAE for this idea or not? Is this even possible? And so on. So this took me roughly 40 minutes. And the tools you can use, and I'm going to tell you the ones I use, is Manus AI, Gemini, or any search capable LLM. Or if you want to do deep research, there are certain workflows that you can create on n8n for advanced research. And always keep in mind that I think I mentioned this over here. Yeah. So I'm going to come to that in a bit. But the point is, go to any platform over here, the LLMs that you can see on top of here, and let them help you with the prompts. This is very important. Don't just come up with a prompt. So I think I went for this. Yeah, this is ChatGPT, but I started with Gemini. I'm going to show you exactly the full process that I did. So this was the prompt that I gave Gemini, and it started with ChatGPT. Yes, so it started with ChatGPT. Optimize the following prompt for me. I'm going to do research on this particular topic over here. So it gave me an optimized prompt. Then I played with it and I talked to it. Okay, can you optimize it a bit more with the results and market sophistication and so on, regional data? It did a bit more optimization of the prompt. Okay, answer the following question about the ideas. It did several things over here. So what I did then is that I copied this, I pasted it over here. I let Gemini go through this list, which is who's my competitors. It said Amazon, Noon, Namshi, Mom's World, and so on, Careful, and so on. And then I talked about part two, the demand and signals, whether there's signals or not. They pulled that from the internet to different type of sources. And then it started giving me certain insights, which I went through and so on. What I did next is I said, okay, let me take this to the next level. You can't skip this part, but I went on Manus and gave Manus, let's go all the way to the top. And I give Manus, is this identify the hot and important market gaps that you think is relevant to this and get the information and give me ideas. So I give the full prompt over here. And then it asked me things, of course, confirm and proceed. A bunch of issues I faced over here. I remember, no, I answered your question. Go ahead. It wasn't reading this file over here. And then it gave me the answer. So somewhere here, it gave me that. So yeah, it went on doing its tasks. And then somewhere here, it gave me the answer over here. So it gave me a couple of files. And these were the files: market validation, MVP ideas for the hyper niche, market gap, 16 top marketplaces in the UAE, small but mighty marketplaces. It kept on giving me a bunch of things over here and a summary at the end, which is what they think, what Manus thought would be the best idea in this case. And let me just show you an example of this document over here. So top recommendations, MVP ideas with supporting evidence, marketplace, and I didn't know that it was popping up in the UAE, by the way. So this was a big insight, and I asked even the people around me and people in businesses. They said many people are in demand of this kind of service over here in the UAE, local artisan service, and it's kind of a trend that's going on. I was not aware. This is just a point out that this was something. So the marketplace MVP, if you want to compete with Noon, could be the local artisan connect UAE. The SaaS MVP would be a WhatsApp shop assistant in the UAE. And basically, it told me that the UAE WhatsApp is dominant in the UAE. In some countries it's not. So this is point number one. And that's true as well. I've seen that. That's why I use WhatsApp for the community and so on. And AI in commerce, this is a growing trend in personalization customer service. I've seen that. And untapped microseller potential, which is the microsellers, they have potential in terms of the untapped market and so on. And give me the strategic approach of how to do this. So if you're going against noon, he said, start a marketplace which is hyper niched and then integrate the SaaS into it to make it even and leverage AI at a larger scale and then start expanding and so on. And this is your key differences against Noon because Noon is so big. It's a marketplace. So you start with a small entity. And I love the strategy, by the way, when he talked about it. So this was essentially, I was doing research. I took this answer over here. I think I went to Chat GPT and told it, what do you think about it? And then I went to Gemini again and I told it, okay, great. This is what you think about it. Now what should I do about it? And what fact check every single information over here, give me sources and so on. So I started playing around with these tools, and this brings me to the point, which is make the LLMs jealous of each other. So since you are platform agnostic, you're not looking at GPT alone and so on. What you can do is you can take the results of a certain LLM, let's say OpenAI, let's say you take from ChatGPT the results, send it to another, let's say Gemini, and tell it, I got this results from ChatGPT, but I think there's something missing within the results. And I don't know if it's structured this way or not. I have to look through which prompt I did with these, but it starts usually with, "Hey, I realize also that there's a missing part." So I don't know if it's a competition thing or so on, but they agree with you and say, "Yes, it's missing and there's incomplete information. Let me fix that for you," just showing that it's better than the others. So make them jealous of each other. Very hot tip over here. And hot tip is, after I did this, I looked into the results as I showed you in the Manus here. What I did was I took this, I told Manus, I think over here, yeah, justify with supporting data and scrape forum, social media content, and so on, just to show me and compare and contrast what MVP ideas you chose with what is found with Y Combinator company directory for 2025. Meaning that if on certain accelerators, you can see certain companies that are pushing this trend. And in the UAE, we have whatever is going on with the UAE and supporting data. That means this validates kind of the idea that we have, whether it's working or not. And surprisingly enough, it found a bunch of competitors for me. Let me just show you very quickly. Here are the bunch of competitors. So you can see if you're going with MVP one, you're going to look at these industries or these startups, and it shows you this was found from this Y Combinator company's website. The next one was here over here, which is business on bot. But the overlap would be this, the Seno AI and Micah AI and so on. And I went into each of these websites just to get ideas to validate and see what terminology they're using, what's their positioning, what's their messaging, and so on. This, by the way, this was done really fast. The point is, and I'm trying to make over here, is that in the past this took a lot of time. This took days. You researching human, putting them in an Excel sheet, looking at that Excel sheet, analyzing and forgetting certain names, million columns in that Excel sheet. I did that in the past. So I know how much time and how boring it is. So we got this job done. We validated the idea. We compared the idea. We got comparisons and so on. And we came up, and I just showed you the result, and we came up with a plan where how are we going to execute on this. But let me tell you the roast that I did in the middle over here. So I like both ideas, to be honest with you, that it gave me, the marketplace idea and the SaaS idea. But for this video, I said, since it's about SaaS, let's do it as a SaaS. But the marketplace makes more sense to start with if you're going to compete with Noon. But the pivot we made here, let's make this a SaaS because it's much, in terms of showing you the content, how we're going to build it out, is going to be much, much more efficient in terms of showing you how to build the backend and so on. So this is very important. And the shift we made it and pivot we made, an AI powered SaaS tool for microsellers and D2C brands in the UAE to manage their entire sales funnel conversationally within WhatsApp, offering AI driven micro recommendations and streamlining customer interactions. And this was the second idea that it gave us over here, which is this was the second idea, the WhatsApp Shop Assistant AI, and not this first idea over here. Amazing. And this is just a point. You can further roast your ideas until to a point where you're completely convinced that this is the idea that I want to go after. But don't overcomplicate it, because this is SaaS a day or SaaS a weekend, let's say. And very important point I want to make up to now is, you see these three steps we went through, different tools we used. What if we could vibe code this? What if we could just write one prompt, get me an idea, research it, and roast it, and give me the final plan? So this is where we can solve the fragmentation, and where the opportunity lies for you if you want to build SaaS, let's say, that goes from step 1 all the way to step 8 and does everything for you. Just I wanted to point that out, and that's a direction I am going in towards as well. How can we take big fragmented systems of repetitive work and put them together and build something really valuable out of it? So that's how you can generate money and profitability for your business as well, make your client's life easier, or even sell it as a service. So this is up to this point. Step 4 is planning. So the prompt that we generated from GPT, we sent to Manus and told it, hey, now I want to build this out. Give me a plan for it using 4 main things. Let me show you the 4 main things that I mentioned. Using the Moscow method, the must-haves. This is very important because I want to know the must-haves. Giving a PRD out of this, a very short one-pager, giving me how the user journey would look like if someone comes on my SaaS tomorrow. What's step 1? Where does he sign up? What does he do? And what's my monetization approach over here? And prepare for me a detailed UI development plan and chunk it up, because you can't prompt all these things to these different tools and tell it, go create it for me. It's more of chunk number 1, do this, do this, do this, because we're still not at that point for it to do everything for you at once. So that's a very important point. And the UI development plan, and by the way, as I mentioned, this is something I did for my client, is it's going to tell you how does each page within your SaaS look like? What is the login page? What is on the dashboard? What is on whatever? So this is a very important point. And you can let GPT write it, Manus, whatever. I was fancy a bit because I had my Manus subscription. I had some tokens. So I said, let's do it in Manus. So it gave me the full thing over here. And then what I did was I took that and chunked it up to prompts, where the first thing which I recommend you to do is to build out your landing page. So the landing page, what it essentially does, it sets the vibe of the full thing. If you go straight into the backend, or if you go straight into the database, you may forget the direction or the North Star you're going towards. When you build out your landing page, what you do is you have a clear section in terms of what buttons are you going to use, what's form, whatever there exists in the landing page, and what you're going to do in the text and so on. And this is very simple to do as well. So now for getting the prompts out, this took me 10 minutes. And then I got this prompt by ChatGPT saying, okay, this is how the landing page would look like. These are the sections. And how I got it was I went to one of these websites. I think it was Pinterest. No, it was Dribble for this one. You can go on Pinterest or Dribble to take motivation. I went to Dribble. I saw this picture on Dribble, which was about, I think it was for a SaaS. I wrote SaaS design, web design, landing pages or something like that. Took that, dropped it into GPT, told GPT, give me a prompt to create this with a dark vibe and minimal vibe and so on. But I want to create these sections, looks the same and so on. Then let me put a recommendation over here of a mistake I made. If you don't like the structure of this, the landing page that you got, don't ask for a prompt about it, because I did not enjoy that. I want to do it fast. So I did not like the structure over here. So I ended up changing a lot of things and that took time. But this is an idea. If you like something, drop in GPT and get it, and you can get the prompt. And then you send it to Lovable, which is the fun part and the visualization part, which you're going to see. A hot tip over here. So I was stuck between Lovable and Bolt. I'm going to show you both, the results as well. And I was saying, should I use Lovable or should I use Bolt? I know there's a lot of comparison videos on YouTube. I did not have time to go through each of one of that and say, okay, Lovable is better for this and Bolt. I asked GPT what's the difference, and then I said, okay, let me put out the same prompt over here to both of them and see what comes up. And whatever is better and easier, I'm going to come up and use. From my experience and what I saw over here, Bolt was a bit clunky for me, and Lovable had a more modern look. Bolt also, I think it broke down once on me, and I started another prompt and so on. So that was my experience. I know people who love Bolt over Lovable. They say it's better for their workflow, but it depends on you. I suggest you test both out and see what works for you. And just to show you, I'm going to show you the results of each. And yeah, then let me go through this first. So be patient. It's very, very important. The reason this took 60 minutes, it should not have taken me 60 minutes, is because there were a lot of dependencies, errors, and a lot of the, let's say, components within the landing page I was very picky on, which I want this color, I want this type of animation, I want XYZ, which took a lot of time. Don't be like me. Be patient if you have faced errors, and just start like prompting it, and be also aware of the credits you're going to be using. I think I used 10 credits with for this, plus the 5 daily credits. So my subscription has 100 per month, so I use 10 of that and 5 of the daily credits. I think it did not charge me for fixing the errors, so that's just a point to keep in mind. And then as I said, start with the landing page. First thing I did, went to ideogram, created the logo, told it to remove the background for me, which is called Dukan AI. Very random name, on the spot, made it up. And then where did we go? So I put the logo over here. Then I said, let me make a bunch of images for the website itself using ideogram as well. So I asked GPT, give me 5 images I want for this website. Give me a prompt for each image. Keep it modern, keep it stylish, and so on. I think it gave me this for the testimonials. It gave me this for the screen page and so on. So this is an ideogram. As you can see, I was asking it different things, and I was testing a lot of things out. First of all, the WhatsApp thing and so on. Like, I was testing different things just so you see, to see what I like the most. So this is me being picky and why it took a lot of time. And essentially, I got up all the images. This is all AI generated based on the front end, and ended up, and yeah, by the way, this is a nice website if you want components, but ended up with these two types of landing pages from Lovable. So let me now show you the difference between Lovable and Bolt. So on Lovable, I got this website. Let me refresh this just so you see. This button was not there, by the way. This was from 21 Dev, and this screen kind of was edited from 21 Dev. You can see a slight error that it had over here. It added this. I can remove it, but I made it 80% there. So you can see the animations of this. This is something I really, really like. It's very modern, and I did not read the text, by the way. The content over here, I did not read. I just skimmed through it, but I trust it is good. The pricing plan, it shifts. The structure is there, and you can see the testimonials moving over here, then get started and so on. And there was an issue, I think, with one of the buttons. I think it's resolved, but there was an issue here. So this was the work of Lovable. The work on Bolt was this. This is something I got on Bolt, which is, I gave it the same exact prompt, and then it gave me something like this. Not bad, but I like Lovable more. I'm just showing the same prompt on different platforms, and this is something maybe I could have worked on a bit more. Yeah, I think I could have, but yeah, I liked Lovable more. It's very sleek. I think the images also played a big role in terms of the images and so on. So amazing. This was in terms of the landing page. And then, as you can see at the very beginning, it was really long. So I removed a couple of pictures. I removed a couple of things, just edited it to this. I think I even edited it more to get it to something like this. So that's why it took me 60 minutes, just putting the point. And this is a landing page that would take a lot of time in the past to create if you were doing it manually. Another interesting point, and something I've experienced as well in the past. But I don't like the logo as well, small. But I'm going to show you the rest of the feature of the and how we connected the backend and how the dashboard looks and how people log in and so on. So overall, I love the feel over here. 80% is there. So essentially, once the front end was done, then only I moved to the backend, and I planned it again on ChatGPT. Told it, okay, now I want to build the backend. I need a place for it to store the logins, the authentication, the passwords, and so on. I want a place to store the products that I would have, the functionality of this MVP that I'm trying to build. And I want it to be suitable. The routing, for example, the buttons take me to the right screens and what all not, like everything else. So I started building everything out, and got the prompts as well in terms of skeletons, and used those prompts. So point number one was the database, because to log in, you need a database, and I used Supabase in this case, and you can see the logins are over here. If you go authentication, you can see the logins, and it's very easy to set up. I think you go in Lovable, you click on this button over here, and you set it up. And just to show you the prompts as well, uh, I mean, I went through a lot of prompts and started fixing a lot of things as we went on. At the very beginning, it was a bit ugly, to be honest. And I started fixing a lot of things as we went through, and it mixed up the pictures and so on. And then at some point, it did the Supabase thing. So to connect the database, you just click on this. It takes you through. It gives you something like this, and you click yes, and it just adds it within your database. So this is something very interesting and very easy to do. And this took a lot of time in the past as well. So database is over here. Then it did this. I don't think it's connected properly, but it works as an initial draft. It told me, okay, you're gonna have products within your database, you're gonna have messages that we're gonna log, there are gonna be conversation with people. I didn't add the insights as well and connected it with the authentications and so on. So you can play with the prompts and get it right. This is the main point. So this is done in terms of database, then the dashboard and the backend, which I'm gonna explain right now. So let's go back to the website over here. Let me refresh this just so we start fresh. So let's say a user comes on my website, reads this. I'm not really trusting yet to click on connect WhatsApp. Let me read through. I'm reading your website. Amazing. Does this guy even have testimonials? Have they started in the past? What's happening? Okay, they have testimonials. Okay, let's see what happens if I click here. It takes me to login page. So what's really nice about this login page, it did it by itself, is that if you don't have an account, you create an account and it goes to Supabase. Supabase sends you a confirmation email. It tells you go confirm. And if the email is not confirmed, it does not log you in. And it has the functionality of sending you back the forget password and all that. So it did a great job without me telling it. Because in the past, when I started developing apps, let's say, to get authentication right, I used to not know that, okay, I need to get the forget password, the login page, the registration page. What happens if they forget? Like, there are many nuances to the situation, and it got it all right. So you don't need to be a coder, you don't need to know these things, but you need to know how everything works at a high level, and that's what I meant by all of that. So I have an account over here. So let's just log in into my account, and I want to show you how it looks like. So you can see at the bottom over here, it shows you login successful. It takes you to the dashboard. And this is the dashboard. This is all dummy data, by the way. I told it to give me dummy data just so you see how everything works and how you can add everything within database and so on. So inbox is where you connect this to your WhatsApp from its settings. And then on the inbox, you can see every single WhatsApp message that comes to you. You click on one WhatsApp message, it gives you AI suggestions of what to answer. If you can make it an auto mode to get it to answer itself without confirmation. And you can have hide suggestions, add suggestions, show suggestions, send a message, edit the message, use this reply, and whatever. And on the right, you can see his number or whoever lead you have, whether it's the order placed, payment pending, whatever it is, you can identify them here. And then you can see the orders they have ordered in the past and how much they have spent. And if you have any notes about them and save the notes over here, it goes to the database. Very important. You can log out as well from this button over here. On the catalog, just to streamline everything, you add all your products over here in the catalog. Did you like this? Okay, it's not showing me again, but the loading button looks nice, like that loading animation. So you don't have products, but if you click here, you can add your product. You can add an image. It works. It opens a file. It allows you to upload an image and so on. I've tested that, but I'm not going to do it here. Or you can import an CSV file. If you click on this, it gives you the screen, import the CSV. This is for the catalog. You can see slight issues over here in terms of this is still highlighted when you click on this. This you can fix very easily. But the point is get something running 80%, like 80% working. That's the main point of the MVP. So this is for catalog. This one is something I got really nerdy about and enjoyed, which is insights. So you can see that it tells you how many active leads you have based on the conversations, how many need follow up, how many orders are placed, what's your lead to order ratio this week. So maybe you can add something here, this day, 28 days, 1 year, and so on. And this is your sales funnels. Essentially, is how many new leads you have, how many have you contacted, how many are qualified, how many placed orders. So you can see this ratio that's happening over here in terms of your funnel. And it tells you the status of each. It logs every AI insight based on the conversations you're having. For example, this person ordered 2 weeks ago, is unhappy with shipping delays and is considering canceling. So this is an issue reported and it's red. So there are different colors over here, and you can shift between these and you can change the next steps. It's telling you what the next steps, and you can view the conversations over here. And then once you're done with the day, you can click log out. You go back to this page. So this is the complete backend that I've worked and built with this. So now a couple of points I want to mention to you of how you can connect this if you want to connect it together. Once I show you the dashboard, the backend, you can do it either real time if you want WebSockets and so on, or you can have it as a message by message approach because this is a WhatsApp use case. So you can have it by message approach through a webhook. And that webhook can be applied in Meta. Meta, if you go over here, you can put that webhook and you can just verify and save. And then that webhook, once it's activated, it's being, once, let's say you receive a message, this is active on n8n, which is the backend. Also, you don't need to code. This is very simple. It's a visual editor. And I've talked about this a lot on the channel as well. So if you have this, you put your webhook over there, and then it just takes the WhatsApp messages. It looks at text, voice, image, what it is, transcribes it if needed, and then sends it back to the screen, which is the Lovable dev, the backend that I showed you. And then once you respond, it goes back here and just responds to the person. So you can connect n8n, let's say, the backend to this. Or if you want to be a bit more advanced, you can go and export the code right now. Let's go on here. You can export this code and you can go to Bolt. You can go onto Cursor and Windsurf and start working on it over there with the AI editor on VS Code. So you have multiple options around this, but that is a bit more advanced. And that's the reason I'm not showing it over here. And that's the route we took for the client I had. We did not do it on using n8n, but more of going on Cursor. So that's just to keep in mind. So now what you can think about is, and once you're working on the backend, think about authentication, which I just showed you. Think about how you can secure your database. Think about how you can connect the buttons on the front end to everything that's happening on the back end. Make sure the routing is correct. If you have payments, make sure Stripe is integrated. You can do that very, very easily if you just go over here, get the Stripe link that you have over there, put it over here. Can you add the Stripe link to this button over here? You can get it very easily done. And you can even add a custom checkout page if you want to do that with upsells, cross sells, whatever it is. So this and edge functions for custom logics in Supabase if you want to have custom logics over here, like in terms of what's happening behind the screens. And hot tip, and very important, you're going to have bugs. And I told you to be patient about this. And this is the practical reality of things. You're going to have bugs and it's going to give you errors a bunch of times. You're going to keep on fixing errors. You're going to spend a good time fixing errors. But if it's working 80% right, and you can see within the dashboard that I showed you, there was slight errors here and there, font size that says not that good, logo sizes can be bigger and so on, it's fine. It's an MVP. And you're doing it on a weekend or on a day. You're not working on this on a whole week. You can get that right later on. You just need something functional that you can test with the market and see the demand. And you can do that in a couple of hours. Very important points. So once that's done, you come to the launch phase. And in the launch phase, this is very, very important, is that the problem or the challenge that's happening that I see with people doing or building their SaaS using Lovable and so on, they don't take into consideration because they're complete non-coders. And this is why I mentioned you need to understand the high objective thing, is that they're complete non-coders. And what they do is they launch something to the market and they get users on board, but they have security issues. They put their API keys in there. They put a bunch of keys that are passwords that should not be there. So there are ways to put this in terms of how we're to put it, whether it's within an environment, variable, whatever it is. That's something you should take into consideration. And that's where and when you take the code and go to Windsurf. And I don't think you should think about this too much right now until you reach to a point where, okay, you have something functional. I want to launch this. Go and take it to Windsurf. And this will not take you much time. But it's a very, very critical point. Don't just launch when this is ready. Go to here and go through a checklist, which I give you. So the tools used, you can use anything, but I recommend Windsurf for this. And the objective is to handle any bugs you have. Go from 80% to 90% to 100% if you can. And test the core user flows. So it goes and click the buttons, sign up, sign out, forget password, try different things, try different accounts, see what happens. And most importantly, security is very important. I'm not going to go through these, but because they're very technical for this video, but these factors are very important, essentially performance and security and speed. And then the very important point is transform the MVP from just working, which is 80%, to launch worthy, which is not 100%, maybe 90%, meaning that it's secure enough to launch. Very important point. And this can be a list you can follow. For example, you can go on ChatGPT, give it the idea, tell it, give me a checklist to go through to make sure this is launch ready for Windsurf. And it's going to tell you, okay, make sure the WhatsApp messages are received via n8n. Make sure that the message type is detected. Make sure the AI reply is generated, the product recommendation, and so on. So these are just things you can go through and validate your idea and so on. Essentially, this is the full cycle. This used to take so much time and effort and devs and headaches to get done, but you can see how easy it is now with this process. But the biggest challenge that I'm told you is this over here. Can we one shot this? Can we vibe code it? Someone come to me, or you come to me, I built for you the software, and you click one button, all this works together. Let's say it takes it 30 minutes to do it, whatever time it takes it, 1 hour to do it. You say, I have this idea, I want to build this MVP, I want everything to look really nice for me, and you go sleep, wake up in the morning, your MVP is ready. That's the next step towards where we're going. But right now, we're not at that stage because of the fragmentation issue. A couple of thoughts over here. So we live in times that is easiest than ever to build your software either for yourself, for your clients, or to sell it as a service to others as well. And I mentioned that the higher you are within this value chain, the more money you're going to make. And I don't think this window will be open to us for a really long time. And what I recommend, and I highly recommend, let's say, you go through all these tools that I mentioned, go through the framework that I talked about, and go through the steps that I showed you multiple times and experiment at least with 2 to 3 to 4 MVPs or SaaS businesses or SaaS software as a service, because they're all being disrupted as we speak. Adobe is being disrupted. I'm not saying they're going out of business, but they're being disrupted. And as they be disrupted, there are massive amounts of money in billions that are going to be laying around for people like you who come on board and build their SaaS using exactly the process that I showed you and charging 1/10 of that price and capturing the opportunities for yourself. So don't sleep on this framework, or don't sleep on the what direction we are moving over here. And I highly recommend you go play with these tools ASAP.